Welcome back to this week's episode of From the Desk of Anna Paulina Luna. As you know, we took a 2-week hiatus. However, it was for good reason. We were handling business, as some of you, I'm sure, saw on our social media. This week, we'll be jumping right into the upcoming gubernatorial race here in Florida between former Republican turned independent, now Democrat, Representative Charlie Crist and America's Governor Ron Desantis. We'll be following what's happening with the continued shift of Hispanic voters to the GOP platform, the future of your child's education, especially here in the state of Florida, of course, our Florida Man of the Week featuring Representative Matt Gaetz, and also to answering questions from all of you. This is From the Desk of Anna Paulina Luna. My name's Anna Paulina Luna. I'm pro-life, pro-God, pro-gun, and anti-globalist. Getting right down to business, we have a upcoming governor's race here in Florida. And of course, the notorious Charlie Crist is now the Democrat nominee for here in the state of Florida against America's governor. I can tell you right now, I already know who's going to win that election. But for those of you who might not know, maybe from those of you tuning in from other states, who is Representative Charlie Crist? Well, Charlie Crist is 66 years old, and the telltale definition of what a career politician is. In fact, I'm sure if you go to Urban Dictionary, he's definitely probably in there under retail politician. He's been in this business. I don't even think he's ever had a real day job, but he was formerly the Republican governor for the state of Florida. Then he ran a failed senatorial campaign as an independent, and now he's the Democrat nominee against America's governor. As we all know, the Democrats like to run on a platform that's very divisive among the American people, largely focused on racism. We know Charlie Crist was known as Chain Gang Charlie. That's something that the Democrat media likes to ignore. However, we'll remind you, see photo here. Chain Gang Charlie was actually something that he was notorious for and likes to pretend never existed, but we'll make sure that every voter is reminded of that, especially before the upcoming gubernatorial. What's interesting about Charlie Crist, though, especially with his upcoming race, his running mate pick is extremely, I don't even want to say controversial, other than she's just bad news. She is teacher union boss Carla Hernandez Matt. So I'll tell you right now, I think that his pick was based on the fact that she's Hispanic. However, this is something that we're increasingly finding is the Democrats are tone deaf with a Hispanic demographic, and this should be your prime example. She was previously noted for claiming that Cubans mourn the death of Fidel Castro. I can tell you, being in the state of Florida, anyone who is from Cuba or had family members that were killed by Fidel Castro or imprisoned definitely aren't mourning his death. She also was known for opposing efforts to reopen schools during the COVID-19 pandemic. And in addition to that, you actually saw her then cover and have her union cover from someone who is guilty of sexual assault and abuse. So that's definitely interesting seeing coming out of someone who now wants to be the nominee for Florida. But of course, the Democrats don't really have a win record. We all remember Andrew Gillum. I don't think we have to show you those photos, but we definitely know how that went. Thank God for Governor Desantis. Check out what Governor Desantis, though, had to say. He definitely did not mince his words, especially in regards to calling her out about her nonsense, and Chris as well.
You know, you see Crist with this running mate that he picked from down in Miami, who's a teacher union boss, and sympathetic to Fidel Castro, which was unbelievable to see that tweet, worked tooth and nail to lock kids out of school in 2020. They opposed everything we did in the state of Florida to give kids an opportunity and to put parents and families first. They wanted them locked out of school. They wanted to mimic the policies of Los Angeles, Chicago, D.C. They wanted that to be what happened in the state of Florida. And we already know the catastrophic damage that happened for locking these kids out of school. And we know Florida is so much better off because we actually put our kids first and we understood how important it was to be in education. She and her union were more interested in politics than they were in the best interests of these kids. And then you come to see that they had one of their top henchmen in the union down in Miami who was a middle school teacher. He was sexually abusing middle school students for years and years. And everybody knew this was going on, and her union protected him, knowing that he represented a threat to those students in middle school classrooms. And he abused and he abused and he abused, and he finally got caught and he's finally in prison. But they cared more about the power of their union than they did about the best interests of these kids. That is disgraceful. You do not put union politics ahead of middle school students who are in danger of being sexually abused. I think that's disqualifying to be in any political office, much less lieutenant governor of the state of Florida.
I mean, it's not just disqualifying, it's disgusting. And you're continuously seeing, remember, Democrats were very quick to jump on the Me Too movement and basically say that they wanted to protect all women, etc. But yet you have them covering for some of these nominees that are doing really bad things to those that are the most innocent, which is ironic because then Charlie Crist, of course, doubled down and said that he also, as a public school kid with two sisters who later became teachers, education is close to his heart. And then he continued to go on with this more divisive rhetoric. Mind you, we continuously see this coming out of the Democrat Party. They are saying that Republicans are this now fascist party of hate, all of this nonsense. They like to blanket label, and yet they're completely complicit in the hypocrisy of all of it. Charlie Crist went forward to say, we will defeat Ron DeSantis. We will turn the page on his far-right agenda, ensure teachers are paid what they deserve, and take culture wars out of the classroom. Hold the phone. Culture wars, literally Governor DeSantis passed the Parental Rights Act because you had far-left groups that were infiltrating our education system and ultimately pushing this indoctrination on children. And Governor DeSantis, which I stand by, said that you shouldn't be talking to kindergarten through third graders about sex without their parents present. It's not rocket science. But yet you see them again flip this narrative. So Charlie Crist leaning on these issues, saying that Governor DeSantis is, far right and bringing culture wars to the classroom, all of this nonsense. They can't win on the issues with voters. We know right now that because of COVID-19 and these far left-leaning blue politics, Florida itself went from being a purple state to being a red state. We have so many people, to include people from the Northeast, which we'll get into in a second, that have come down to Florida, are actively engaging as primary Republican voters because they don't want to have happen what happened in their home states to the state of Florida. They frankly love DeSantis. They love the America First platform. They can't win on the issues, so they're now starting to hit us and blanket label us and basically cause so much more divide. I mean, we saw this under President Trump, that the media was vicious. They were continuously lying about what was actually policy. And a lot of the candidates that were running for office, if they were Republicans, we're seeing it again, especially going into a midterm, where Democrats are increasingly losing on the issues of economy, on the issues of inflation, on the issues of the fact that Americans are doing a lot worse under Biden than they were doing under President Trump, and people want to get back to prosperity. They don't want this America last perspective that this administration has been bringing forward. So you're seeing a lot of them really attack the Republican Party platform now, saying that, we're quote unquote fascists, all of this nonsense. And it is scary because this is the same party, remember, that is failing to condemn the raid on Mar-a-Lago. And yet they're saying that Republicans are acting in a fascist stance. It's not Republicans that were weaponizing the FBI against people that were attending school board meetings about what their kids were learning in the education system. It was Democrats. It's not the Republican Party that's going after a former president saying that they have information, although the President Trump was fully cooperating. It's the DOJ under the Biden administration, aka Democrats, that is being weaponized against the American people. So they're literally accusing us of what they're guilty of. Well, Jack Posobiec, who's one of our favorite commentators, called them out on it. Check out what he had to say.
They're leaking like a sieve. And more so to that, folks, it's exactly what we said it was, and it might even be worse. We are in the midst of a coup, a preemptive coup, which is underway between Washington, D.C., Mar-a-Lago, and every single state in this nation. They banned a sitting president from social media, impeached him 2 times, jailed his supporters, and now they've raided his home. Then they go on TV and they call us, they call you a fascist. That's what they're doing, but they call you the fascist. And now the New York Times editorial board has come out saying they're giving air cover to the preemptive coup, saying, go right ahead. You have to indict him for the good of the nation. For America to survive, for national security to exist, we must indict this man. We must indict President Trump. The only way to stop fascism and defend democracy is to indict President Donald J. Trump, to indict his supporters, to jail them, to criminalize them, and to make them otherwise unacceptable in polite society. You get it, right? You see what's happening. Every day, there's another cancellation. Every day, someone else gets banned. Libs of TikTok just got locked out on Twitter again. Understand what part of the movie you're in. It's simple. Now, President Trump, for his part, by the way, has called on FBI whistleblowers to step forward. I think it's important. And Darren Beatty had a point about this as well. Set up a fund to protect the whistleblowers. Because if they do come forward, we know there are these 14 in the House and the Senate right now. Grassley and Jim Jordan are working with them. Matt Gaetz, the congressman, the senator. These people need to be taken care of. Go look at Peter Strzok out there. Frank Figaluzzi. These FBI flunkies that are out there chewing up the internet, arguing that Russia wasn't a hoax. In fact, the Russiagate was completely real. Do you get it? They don't care about the truth anymore. They don't care about the law anymore. So what we need is a fund that will take care of these whistleblowers when they come forward to protect them from legal protections, and then also probably just to make sure their basic living expenses are paid for, because they are going to be fired. They're going to lose their jobs. They're going to be prosecuted.
I mean, he's not wrong. And as we're filming this episode, I actually had an article that was just published by the Gateway Pundit. Breaking: Attorney General Merrick Garland threatens DOJ employees about contacting Congress. In the current environment, he appears to be breaking law. So they don't want these people that actually believe in due process, believe in the justice system, to come forward because what? They're going to call out and point out the fact that there's a weaponization of taxpayer-funded organizations against political, candidates for office, political threats to this administration. It's so scary. And my question is, because I'm sure, people will be watching this on the other end, is, do you not agree that this is wrong? I mean, Andrew Cuomo, who I don't agree with on anything, basically said that it sets a dangerous precedence, and it does. It's wrong for it to be happening in the United States of America. We have the legislative branch, we have the judicial, and we have the executive branch. Judicial is part of the checks and balances. When you see this type of corruption, it's completely wrong, and it's pissing off a lot of people. I would say that, yes, we will take back the House and the Senate. However, we have to figure out who is calling these shots, because there's definitely special privileges that's given to one party and not the other. And it's wrong. It shouldn't be happening. And then you have people that are running, again, going back to Representative Charlie Crist and Governor Desantis. Charlie Crist has the nerve to tell voters, if you are standing up against this type of stuff, if you are conservative, if you are Republican, he doesn't want your vote.
Those who support the governor should stay with him and vote for him, and I don't want your vote. If you have that hate in your heart, keep it there. I want the vote of the people of Florida who care about our state. Good Democrats, good independents, good Republicans. Unify with this ticket. Unify with Val Demings and Charlie Crist.
Val Demings. Unify with Val
Those who are
Demings.
haters,
Okay.
You're going to go out in your
Charlie.
own world. And you better get right.
Well, according to polling, I don't think many people will be voting for you anyways, Charlie, because it doesn't look like you are going to win. But a lot of people said, well, why is it that Charlie Crist is doubling down? We know that, Biden is in the hole with his national approval ratings. And I would argue that Charlie Crist knows that he's going to lose against Governor DeSantis, and he wants a cabinet position. So maybe that's why he's doubling down. I can tell you that Charlie has been known to be a very good retail politician. However, you look at his policies, you look at the fact that he's literally represented at every party. I think that he represents the party of Charlie Crist, to be quite honest with you. He has no political allegiance to anyone. But, the fact is that he is telling Floridians that he doesn't want their support if they support this platform, of which he used to be a part of, to be clear. But, it is a scary time. And frankly, I don't think many people will be voting for Charlie, because he pissed off the Republicans, he pissed off the independents, and he pissed off many Democrats as well. And so I don't think you'll have to worry about that, Charlie, come this November. We look forward to covering that race and seeing Governor DeSantis elected again to the great state of Florida. And of course, we will take all of the New Yorkers. We know that Kathy Hochul's advice was for any New Yorker that didn't want to agree with the Democrat woke platform and agenda for them to just head on down to Florida. And frankly, we'll take it. Check out what she had to say.
And we're here to say that the era of Trump and Zeldin and Molinaro, just jump on a bus and head down to Florida where you belong, okay? Get out of town. Get out of town. Because you don't represent our values. You are not New Yorkers.
Yeah, you're right. We're Floridians, and we'll take all the New Yorkers that have common sense approach to governing this country. You know, she says, hop on a bus down to Florida. Well, we have air travel, but not just that. You know, I heard that many New Yorkers are actually getting upset at the amount of people that are being bused into New York that are not American citizens, and that it's causing a strain on the city. Not to mention, it is increasing crime. You know, what happened with New York is actually a very sad story. Under Giuliani, no crime. Under current administration, current leadership with the state of New York, high crime. People are literally, you can find footage on like World Star Hip Hop and other outlets of people literally broad daylight getting mugged, getting beat up. It's awful. But unfortunately, sometimes it has to get worse before it gets better. And hopefully these people end up waking up and realize, you know, maybe just a little bit, if things are going well in Florida, we can continue to observe it. They like to vacation down here. We know AOC did, and everyone else under the sun during COVID-19. They vacation here because our policies work. You know, what's interesting is going back to the whole focus now and the shift on the Hispanic demographic, you see Charlie Crist, who's now taken a Hispanic female running mate. I think because he is attempting to garner that vote in the Miami-Dade area, in the Orlando area. We know that the Hispanic demographic is heavily influential, not just across the country, but particularly in states like Florida, Texas, Arizona, Nevada, etc. But I don't think that they quite understand that Hispanics are actually rejecting the Democrat Party platform because of how extreme and anti-values it is with us. Obviously, many Hispanics reject the idea of Latinx. Obviously, many Hispanics reject the idea of this, I think, forced socialism. They are literally trying to buy up conservative Spanish-speaking news networks, and we are going to continue to see this push. The more that the Democrats lock down and push harder, the more that you're going to see this shift over to the Republican Party platform. And I believe that, you know, right now it might be annoying, but that Charlie Crist's running mate will actually help Desantis in the long run. Moving on to my favorite section now in our Florida Man of the Week. This week we have two Florida men. One includes Representative Matt Gaetz. So I'm going to cover this one first because we all know that the media likes to put out rumors, put out false stories, but they don't ever correct or put out the facts, especially after they completely smeared this man and his family in the public eye. So we know that there was this extortion effort to extort Representative Matt Gaetz's father. A lot of people tried to discredit that, say that it was crazy. It ended up being true. In part A of this section, you have Matt Gaetz. A Florida man gets 5 years in plot to extort Matt Gaetz's father. Forget this, $25 million. Okay, so this guy thought that he was just going to maybe target a sitting representative's father for $25 million in an effort to secure a presidential pardon for his son. So U.S. District Court Casey Rogers sentenced Stephen Alford. We'll put his photo right here so you can see the face of this dumb criminal, 62 years old, to 63 months plus 3 years supervisor release after he pleaded guilty last year to 1 count of wire fraud, according to federal court documents. So Matt Gaetz was not making this up. It actually happened. This is literally the kind of stuff that you see in House of Cards. It's the kind of stuff that you see in movies, except it's not a movie, it's real life. And it's happening here in the state of Florida with these crazy, shady people that are targeting conservatives. This is literally the guy that tried to buy a pardon for his son by extorting Matt Gaetz's father. Very strange, very bizarre. Should be on headlines everywhere, and it's not because Matt Gaetz is a firebrand, but we'll cover it here at From the Desk of Ana Paulina Luna. And of course, going on to our part B, one of my more favorable ones, it is the honorary Florida Man of the Week. This one's covering a man and his emotional support alligator, which is super creepy because alligators are not fuzzy and they're definitely not that cute. You wouldn't catch me snuggling one. But of course, he's not even from the state of Florida. Joseph Henney's emotional support alligator, Wally the Gator, goes with him almost everywhere from the grocery stores to walks in the parks, and they hug each other and sleep in the same bed. Walligator is an alligator, and that is his name. What's weird about this is apparently if you look at the alligator a certain type of way, he'll like nudge you with his nose and he'll, I guess, want to kiss from you. I'm sorry, but alligators are known for biting people and also the death roll. They're not snuggly. We've heard of kiss your frogs and you get a prince. Never kiss your alligators. Wouldn't recommend that, but Walligator is definitely cute, and that ends our Florida Man of the Week. Had many congratulations, and I'll wrap it up with this. Thank you so much to everyone who reached out. I received hundreds and hundreds of messages after the 23rd. We're very excited about this. Obviously, you know, here in the state of Florida, we have the potential to really take back the House. We are one of the top 5 targeted seats. And frankly, I think it's important to get the younger base involved. We saw that during Biden's election, many young people voted, but they voted in favor of the Democrat platform, I believe, because they were not getting all the facts. And we now know, obviously, with the statements that have come out from Mark Zuckerberg, obviously, we know that Twitter was aiding in bearing the Hunter Biden laptop story. So much is happening on the digital media front. So we appreciate our digital warriors out there every single day, putting the truth out there and waking up our fellow Americans. Obviously, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment on our stuff. Share our content. We want this to go viral. But more importantly, if you see a Florida man in action, don't forget to tag us on our social media at Real Anna Paulina. And if you want us to cover a story, we'll be taking submissions as well. You can always DM those to me on any of our social media pages. Facebook, Twitter, Getter, Instagram, True Social. We're on everything. We look forward to having you guys back next week, and thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of From the Desk of Anna Paulina Luna.